Welcome to Fear and Greed, the week ahead. I'm Sean Aylmer, and usually I'd be joined by economist Stephen Koukoulas, but the Kook's on a well-deserved holiday for a few weeks in Greece with his family. I'm pleased to say we've got another Fear and Greed regular stepping in. Cherelle Murphy is the chief economist at EY. Good morning, Cherelle.
It's a pleasure to be here, Sean. Thank you very much for getting me in as the B team.
Well, no, not at all. I mean, you have big shoes to fill, but for those who don't know, Cherelle has worked at the Reserve Bank. She's worked for government. She worked at the Financial Review. In fact, I think we sat next to each other at the Financial Review at one point. And your career has now blossomed to be chief economist at EY. So I have full faith in what we're going to do here.
Excellent.
Good. Let's get into it. Last week, in some ways, I mean, there wasn't a lot of data out last week. Some interesting things around on job vacancies, and the CPI monthly data was pretty good, I suppose. And the final budget outcome was interesting too. What did you make of last week?
Yeah, there was a few things, nothing that sort of surprised us remarkably, but I guess the final budget outcome was the most interesting domestic information that we got last week. So that came in at a deficit of $32 billion, which was down from the estimate that Treasury had made on that number of about $80 billion. So that's a mere $50 billion improvement in the space of about 6 months, which is pretty extraordinary. About $30 billion of that improvement came from the better than expected commodity prices, and about $20 billion of it came from lower than expected outlays related to the fact that the economy was running a little bit stronger. So look, it's a really good outcome, and it's certainly bucking the trend, I guess, compared to some international numbers that we've seen that have been comparable. And again, a lot of it comes back to the fact that we have an economy where we are benefiting from high commodity prices, and that's flowing right through.
Okay, but those commodity prices, and I think Jim Chalmers, the Treasurer, was at pains to point this out, those commodity prices have certainly come off since that peak, iron ore being the obvious example. So that sugar hit at least is probably a one-off, although the outlays should be less anyway because the jobs market's still pretty good.
Yes, that's right. And in fact, that's why I guess the Treasurer is, as you say, at pains to point out that the structural budget deficit doesn't get a kick along from this. So we're still facing ongoing and increasing outlays across the types of expenditure that don't go away. In fact, they get worse over time. Things like health, the NDIS, etc. These things get more expensive. Whereas that sugar hit, if you like, from the commodity price increase was very temporary and is likely to be less good going forward. It still could be quite good, but it's going to be less good. And therefore, you get that kind of mismatch between the money coming in and the money going out. And that's why he's concerned about that structural position of the budget.
Okay. The monthly CPI data, well, the first release of monthly CPI data came out last week as well. Now, ironically, the Kook has been talking about this for years.
I know.
Just suddenly, the week it comes out, he goes on holidays.
I know. Bad timing on his part. I get to get the limelight on this one. Yeah. So, yes, economists are very excited about the monthly CPI data because clearly what it does is it helps the Reserve Bank to make more informed decisions about where the price level's at. And clearly at the moment, that's pretty topical given we've seen inflation race ahead. So we got some numbers for July and August. So in the year to July, CPI was running at 7%, and in the year to August, 6.8%. So it's pretty high and uncomfortably high. You can remember that the Reserve Bank's target for the headline inflation rate is 2 to 3%. So we're clearly well and truly above that. In some ways, it's not as bad as some other international economies are registering at the moment. That doesn't necessarily, I think, make it a good thing, but probably it could have been worse.
Okay. So that was last week. Now, this week, tomorrow, the Reserve Bank board meets. What's it going to do?
Yes. So we get the August meeting, and it does seem pretty likely, at least according to market pricing, that the Reserve Bank will put in place another 50 basis point increase, which would take the cash rate up to 2.85%. It's not quite priced in at the moment, but it's pretty close. And that obviously follows not only what has been strong CPI data here and still fairly strong economic data. The retail sales numbers were good, for example, but very much the international setting. And the international setting is showing us that the price pressures that have been building through the year kind of are just not going away. And in fact, apart from some wobbles in the oil price and some energy prices, that it's looking pretty scary out there. So it seems likely that the Reserve Bank is going to want to really get on top of that potential for inflation to push up beyond even their own expectations and continue to get the cash rate up. So it looks like, unfortunately, another 50 basis points tomorrow.
We must be getting towards that neutral or potentially contractionary monetary policy setting.
Yes, definitely getting closer. And it's, of course, we don't know exactly what that is, but we're definitely getting closer. And that's the rate at which monetary policy neither contracts nor adds to aggregate demand in the economy. I would say, though, that the Reserve Bank is probably inclined to be pushing towards let's contract the economy a little, because we do have still fairly strong activity in an economy which has got high inflation, and international evidence around us suggests that things are not getting easier. So I would say that they're inclined to sort of put the brakes on a little bit harder in the coming months.
Okay, now we've got a few other things, building approvals, international trade. One that I just wanted to quickly mention is the ironically named Reserve Bank half-yearly financial stability review.
Yes.
What is it?
That comes out on Friday, and it gives us, it's a really comprehensive picture of what's going on in the financial system, really. So everything from sort of housing credit numbers, it reviews action on the markets. And of course, what a week it's been in terms of action on the markets. So I imagine that they would have been drafting that up right up to the last minute. The action that we've seen in the UK in particular after their mini budget last week, in which they put in place tax cuts, which caused the pound to fall to a record low against the US dollar temporarily. It caused action on bond markets, which were just extraordinary, given it wasn't even caused by something as big as COVID or Brexit. It was caused by the government's own action. All these things would feed into its thinking on financial stability or instability, I guess would be more the key word this week.
Fantastic. Now, have a great week, Cherelle. But for those who want to hear more from Cherelle, and why wouldn't you when it comes to the economy, you're with ANZ's David Plank doing a pre-budget update in Canberra on Thursday. Am I right?
We are, actually. We are speaking at the National Gallery, lovely venue, and very much welcome those that are in Canberra to come on down and have a listen to what we think about the Australian economy and what might be in the budget in a more comprehensive forum. So, yes, very welcome.
Fantastic. Cherelle, have a great week.
Thank you, Sean.
That was Cherelle Murphy, Chief Economist at EY. I'm Sean Aylmer, and this is Fear and Greed, the week ahead.